Hello YouTube, sorry for the long wait. Just 2 days after we shot the last film, we moved to a new apartment. We packed up everything and it took, well, a couple of weeks until everything was unpacked and we got settled. And then Chrisi and Daniel and I got together to shoot a little video to update you people on the SynLimb project and also to say thank you for the interest that our little project has stirred. And right after we shot that video, Corona happened and the lockdown happened, and it didn't really feel right at the time to post it, and really also we had so many other things on our minds. But now that we've kind of gotten used to the lockdown situation, I thought it is really time to post a little bit of an update. So with that in mind, let's briefly roll that clip that we shot just a few days before Corona turned out really bad. Hi, I'm Bertolt. This is
Christian.
This is
Daniel.
And together we worked on the SynLimb. And this is just a short video to first of all say all together, thank you. This was amazing. We're completely overwhelmed with the response. Never anticipated this much of exposure. It's amazing. And so the next task for us was to create a proper casing around it, which turned out to be much more difficult than we thought it would be. So we started by 3D printing some case mock-ups like this, where we thought, like the tech will go in here, and then let's do something that also has a mechanical use. Like a case that would still allow me, like a custom prosthesis, to turn knobs and to push buttons, because that's what you need to do when you operate musical equipment, right? This didn't work really well because the tip was way too big and too clumsy for operating the tiny knobs of these things. So then we continued with another iteration of this. Yeah, I know what this may look to some of you. That was purely coincidental, but that didn't work out either. And then we kind of scrapped the idea of having another mechanical interface for turning the buttons, because that really is what the SynLimb can already do electronically. And we focused really on the button pushing, because that's really important. So we came up with this design, where the technology will go in here and the tip here is there for pushing buttons. Now, when we settled on this design, we thought, okay, well, this is just the mock-up prototype, so let's print this into something that actually, has space inside for the technology, and that turned out to be really difficult. So there were many failed attempts, many hours sitting in front of the 3D printer and waiting for it to fail, basically, until we finally arrived at something that would work. And here it is. This is now the current iteration of the next prototype of the SynLimb. The technology is still basically the same as in the last video, so the PCB inside is still the same, but now this has a case that allows me to actually use it without having to worry about breaking the electronics, and I can still push the buttons on the synth. So let me show you how it looks. Oop, this takes a little bit of time today, sorry about that. Here we go. Now this pops on. There we are. And you can see the LEDs inside the casing. I still need to resolder them to kind of elevate them so that they stick out of the case. But I mean, this is just a first attempt at something that's hopefully working. There are still wide gaps around here at the side. It's still a bit clunky, but it's still better than before. This is me practicing with the SynLimb for the maybe second time. And you can see that the tip is really good for moving the levers on the mixers here. And that little ba-bing spike there in the melody, that's the SynLimb pitching the melody up because it's connected to the sequencer. And you can really see that I still need a lot of practice, because this is a point where I fuck up. I try to unmute the bass and it doesn't work, and I have to try a second time.
here we hear the arpeggiator coming in, and the second channel of the SynLimb is connected to the filter to that. So if you hear the arpeggiator's filter going open, that's the SynLimb, and if you hear the melody pitching, that's the SynLimb as well. So here the SynLimb really adds some variation to an otherwise very static kind of mix. Oh, and I love claps. Many of you asked, why don't you make it wireless? I had initially thought that wireless would introduce too much latency, but Chrisi tells me that nowadays latency is no longer an issue in wireless MIDI. So it is something that we're considering down the road, but it would require a radically different PCB. So for the time being, we're more focusing on incremental changes, and I'll tell you more about those in the next videos. So that's it for today. I obviously still need a lot of practice, but we're all really happy with the direction of the project. Stay tuned for more updates, and most importantly, stay safe.